Hi, I'm Donald McIntyre, Senior Editor at the ETC Cooperative. This is the Ethereum Classic Course, Class 1, Public Key Cryptography. Ethereum Classic and Cryptography. Ethereum Classic is part of an industry that many call the cryptocurrency industry. The prefix crypto refers to cryptography, which is part of the science of cryptology. The reason why that prefix is used is because many parts and components of a network that supports a cryptocurrency are possible due to cryptographic functions. In this first class of the Ethereum Classic course, we will discuss one of the most important components, which was actually the primary development that kickstarted the cryptographic security on the internet in general, public key cryptography. Cryptography before the Caesar cipher. For thousands of years and until the discovery of public key cryptography, the only way to transfer secure encrypted messages between parties was that all participants needed to know the same secret key to be able to encrypt and decrypt messages. For example, the Caesar cipher was used by Julius Caesar to communicate securely with his generals. The system consisted of shifting the letters of the words by a number. This number was the secret key that Caesar and all his generals needed to know to be able to communicate. For example, if the key was the number 3, then the letters of a word had to be shifted by 3 positions, so the letter A was written as a D. With this method, the word hello would be encrypted to core, making it unintelligible to the enemy. So in this diagram, you have Caesar and all of his generals knew that the secret key was 3, and this meant that all the letters of the alphabet had to be shifted by 3 positions. So the A was D, the B was E, and so on. So if they needed to write a message and they needed to write the word hello, for example, by shifting each of these letters by 3 positions, it would turn them into this. It would turn the word into this word that the enemy, if they didn't have the key, would not know what it means. And imagine a message saying, "Okay, let's attack tomorrow at 10 a.m." All encrypted in this way, it would be totally unintelligible, and that is the purpose of cryptography, for messages not to be understandable by people by enemies who may intercept them. Public key cryptography, the public key cryptography revolution, because to communicate on the internet requires passing messages between strangers, then trying to coordinate for all participants to know the same private key for each message was not only cumbersome but also extremely insecure. The invention in the late 70s of public key cryptography solved this. The solution was to have a system that would create a public key for every participant, and each participant would have their own secret key. So now, instead of Caesar and all the generals having to know the same key, which was just distributing the key, if it was compromised, a new key, for example, was already insecure. The new system that was invented 2,000 years later in the 1970s, the late 1970s, basically said, let's create this cryptographic function, and we create a public key that that can be shown to anyone, but each participant has their own secret key that is different. So there's no need to be sharing keys. To send the message, the sender only needed to encrypt it with the public key of the receiver, and the receiver would use his secret key to decrypt it. So you have the private key, and then you have a public key. And if I want to see, if you have this secret key, I don't know it, and if I want to send you a message or a cryptocurrency in the case of a blockchain, I send it to your public key, and then you have control of that message to decrypt it or those assets. We're going to see that in a minute. The way it works is that there is a cryptographic function that transforms a very large number into another very large number. The original or seed number is the secret or private key, and the resulting number, when passing the private key through the function, is the public key that may be known by anyone. The public key can be known by anyone, it doesn't matter. It is very easy to generate the public key, but by knowing the public key, it is practically impossible to figure out the private key. This was the fundamental solution to the safety of the system. This model revolutionized and enabled security on the internet, including secure messaging, payments, and decades later, the cryptocurrency industry that uses this system. So you have the private key, you have a special mathematical function, that was the invention, and passing this large number through the mathematical function generates this other number. And even if everybody in the world knows this number, and even if they use all the computers of the world to try to reverse this function and try to figure out the private key, it's practically impossible. It would take thousands of years for all the computing base of the world to try to reverse this number, and that was the key of the security to it. So it's very easy in one direction. It takes milliseconds for any computer or phone to create this public key, but to reverse it is practically impossible. It's computationally impossible. Private key and public key on a blockchain. In cryptocurrency or blockchain networks, the private key is what each user has in their wallet apps to sign transactions. So you have them in your phone app or your computer. You have, for example, MetaMask, or you have Emerald Wallet or Trust Wallet or Exodus or Coinbase Wallet. All those wallets are what are called non-custodial wallets, and that means that you, in your computer, your phone, you have the private keys. And they have to remain secret, of course. The public key is like the user's bank account or address on the blockchain. So this is the model. The same keys as before, but you have the private key. This is what is in your app, in your phone or your machine, and you keep it. Nobody else has it, so if you lose it, you lose your assets. Generates the public key, and the public key is your address. We're going to see that in Ethereum and Ethereum Classic in a minute. So this is what we call the address. So if I want to, if you need me to send you 1 ETC, you give me this address, and I send it, and I send my transaction, and I sign it with my private key that you don't know, but I sign it using your address in the transaction, and I send it to you. The blockchain receives it, and they know that they have to move 1 ETC from my account to your account. And then you control your account with your private key, your address, and your crypto assets. The public key is like a bank account, or the address, as it is commonly known, of the user, because under that account is where their crypto assets are sent by others, received by the user and stored. So when I send you 1 ETC to your public address, you receive it and you can keep it there, and if you need to send it somewhere else in the future, you use your private key. To be able to send those crypto assets to other addresses, then the private key is needed to sign the transaction, as I just said. Address formats in different blockchains. Although all blockchains use the same model for users to manage and control their assets on the network, the formats of the addresses may vary. For example, Ethereum Classic and Ethereum public addresses are identical because they are both fully compatible and both share the same standards. This means that the same private and public keys may be used on both blockchains. So you have this is an address on Ethereum Classic, and this is the same address on Ethereum, and the only thing that is done is that a 0 and an X is added in the front of the public key just to distinguish it, that it is a public key and not some other token. So as you can see, it is the same number with a 0 and an X in front, and both can be used in Ethereum Classic and Ethereum. However, in Bitcoin, the design choice was that the public key had to be processed with an additional function to transform the public key into a special base 58 number to make it more human readable and avoid the confusion of some special character. So in Bitcoin, this same address looks like this. It's just because they have the private key, they generate the public key, and then they use another function just to transform it into this format. It's the same number as this one, but transformed into this format. So because Satoshi Nakamoto at the time thought it was more easy to read by humans, and also because it has all the alphabet instead of hexadecimal, which has only the first 6 letters of the alphabet. Then the I's and the L's could be confused and things like that. So he eliminated several letters. So this is a clean way of looking at the addresses in Bitcoin. Thank you for watching this video. Ethereum Classic Course, Class 1, Public Key Cryptography. And to know more about Ethereum Classic, please go to ethereumclassic.org. Thank you very much.